Bon Viveur by Naughton and Wilson, because life is meant to be enjoyed.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the show. So it's going to be another episode of my 5 most loved or most cherished fragrances, and today we have the wonderful Ross Carlos from TLTG Reviews. Hello.
How are you, sir? Great to be here. I appreciate you having me.
It's a pleasure. I'm great, thanks. How are things over there?
A little muggy, rainy, but it's starting to pass. For the most part, weather's been very beautiful out here in Colorado. Lovely, lovely weather here.
Yep, so you're out in Colorado, the Midwest, a beautiful part of America. But did you say originally from Texas?
Originally from Louisiana. I was in Texas for about 3 years, kind of an in-between, but this is going to be my permanent residence moving forward.
Beautiful. Okay, fantastic stuff. And yeah, so the theme of the show for people who perhaps haven't seen any of the other episodes, many of our viewers will have done, is that we ask you about 5 fragrances that are really important to you and have maybe been a big part of your fragrance journey or your life. And in the process of doing that, hopefully we find a little bit about you as well as about the fragrances. They're not necessarily your top 5 smells in your collection, but hopefully they're all of interest and good smelling fragrances. But actually, no one's done it yet, but if you wanted to throw in a stinker and say, I hate this one, but it's been really important in my life, that would be, that's an option for people too. So it's going to be really interesting to find out about you. But before we actually sort of start asking about the list, just want to talk about you and your channel. So obviously the channel is called TLTG Reviews, and you've been going on YouTube roughly how long?
July 12th will make 2 years. That's the anniversary date for the channel since I started creating content.
Brilliant. And you are incredibly hardworking. It's daily content from you, which is,
yes, sir.
I have to salute that. You put me to shame there with your work rate. Really great, very smooth and professionally put together videos. And, I like the format. You're very, there's loads of information in there, but you're not waffling on too much. So great source of information. And for many viewers out there who need their daily fix of fragrances, but many of us only give them a couple of videos a week. You'd be a great place to go to, covering every kind of fragrance out there. Some olden goldies, cheapies, niche, designer, new stuff. So to everyone, I'm sure many people have heard of you, but check out the link in the description to check out Ross's channel. And you're up to 32,000 subscribers thereabouts.
32,600 and some change as of the recording of this when I checked earlier.
That is phenomenal and well deserved. So congratulations on that. So yeah, we're going to dive into your fragrances really soon. It would be incredibly remiss of me though not to mention your own new release. So you are one of the Z Creators team that have just released 3 new fragrances with the brand. I never know how to pronounce it. Zaharov or Zaharov. Zaharov. I think I got that.
It's a hard har. It's a hard har. Zaharov.
Okay, Zaharov fragrances, which is, of course, headed up by the wonderful George Zaharov, one of my previous guests. A great fragrance house that it was kind of around about 20 years ago. Then they went away for a bit, and then he revived it with Zaharov Signature and the 2 other really nice ones that I got not too long ago, which is Signature Noir and Signature Royale, sort of kind of flankers to the original. But now, with yourself and also Andrea from Curly Scents and Justin from Stay Fresh Productions, he's teamed up, and you guys have each worked with him and the great perfumer Claude Dare.
So I'm the only person that had Claude. They actually had 2 different perfumers. We worked with Mon, one of the top 5 or 6 flavor houses in the world, and they looked at our briefs and they paired us with who they thought would be the best nose to bring our vision to life. And I was lucky enough to end up with Claude. I mean, blown away as soon as I found that out, because I mean, as you know, he's not just a top tier master perfumer. He is a legendary perfumer. Claude's been around many, many years. That's 50 years of fragrance experience in perfumery. Wealth of knowledge. That's right.
Yeah, great stuff. And of course, he was the man behind the original Zaharov Zaharov men's and women's fragrances way back around the turn of the 21st century, and the relaunched Zaharov signature fragrance. So you've done really well to collaborate with him. So your fragrance is called Business Over Pleasure.
Business Over Pleasure. This is my baby.
That's the wrong way around for me. I prefer my life to have the priorities the other way around. But
Pleasantness over
I love
pleasure.
the title.
Business, I understand.
I love the that design is superb. Please tell us, and I insisted that you had to tell us about this fragrance. You did not insist that you wanted to plug it, but I think I want to know a little bit about it. I haven't tried it yet, hoping to soon. Can you tell us a bit about the fragrance and what we can expect to smell in that one?
So for me personally, when I first originally came up with this scent profile, I'll show the bottle a little bit closer because that playing card style is frosted to show through on the back.
Nice.
And both of our logos.
A little picture, I'll pop an image up on the screen so people can see it, but it looks really good. Yeah,
you have both of our logos on the front as well. Blue's my favorite color. While not necessarily a blue fragrance, there's essences of a blue style because it is quite versatile. As long as you can appreciate florals in a fragrance, which I find to be a little bit more put together when you have a floral dominated fragrance, especially for a gentleman. Up top, it's very, very fresh. Very fresh and airy. You got to give it a second because as it starts to dry, because you're going to get hit in the nose with some Sichuan pepper, which the reason I wanted to go with that was one note I really wanted to have in here when I had my conversation with Claude the first time, because what I like about it, it's a great spice for nuancing because it's very fleeting. It'll hit you and it doesn't stay for long. It starts to fade. You may get 20, 30 minutes out of a Sichuan pepper, a good Sichuan pepper. It's very fleeting. So it nuances well with a nice warm spice. So up top, you're going to get hit with that spice. You get a lot of freshness. And then as it starts to calm down a little bit, the iris and the ginger really take over. You can get some of the ginger up top. It adds to that spice, but it starts to get a bit more powdery, creamy, and way more floral overall in the heart. There's a lot of woods here to give it a lot of density and staying power. So it's very fresh up top, and then it starts to have a little bit more body to it as it starts to dry. I really had 3 seasons in mind with this one, with me being from the southern part of the United States where I'm used to it being really hot. I had to have hot summer weather in mind when I did it. So it's really geared towards spring, summer, fall, kind of a 3-season fragrance that, of course, you can pull off anything in any season, but I feel like it's really specialized for that. It's got the professional man in mind, someone such as yourself. You like to wear a nice blazer. I feel like it would really suit your appearance and your profile, the way you like to dress, your attire. It's geared for a gentleman like yourself, actually. Starts off, it tells the story of starting your day, nice, fresh, early, bright in the morning. Your day starts to heat up. The spices start to come in. Then you get these woody, smoky, powdery nuances as it gets late into the day. You start getting off of work. You loosen your tie. Time to have a double shot of whatever your favorite beverage on the rocks. It kind of tells the story of the business professional's day is what I really wanted to do with this fragrance profile.
It sounds great. I'm just going to very quickly have a look on my laptop and just tell viewers very quickly the note listing in full, which you've given us a nice description. So yeah, very interesting, because a little bit brave that you've called it a woody floral musk, and you made a point that there are some significant florals here, which is not the obvious thing that every men's fragrance always has. So we have Sichuan pepper, coriander, and bergamot in the top. You've got mid notes: lily of the valley, Tuscan iris, cashmere wood, lemon verbena, and ginger. And your base notes: musk, tonka bean, patchouli, Palo Santo, amber, and gaiac wood. So that is quite a tantalizing and complex sounding note listing indeed. And I'm now very intrigued to try it. So before we actually get into your list, and congratulations on getting the fragrance out there.
I still can't believe I was able to do this. It's such an experience to be. It was first class. Yeah,
I mean, it's a great thing that the internet and the world we have now allows people like us to sort of fulfill our dreams of releasing a fragrance. And I guess since I do have my own fragrance kind of thing going on too, well, I think viewers like a little bit of a hot topic. So of course, I'm sure you and I know I have had sometimes some cynicism from some viewers about the idea of YouTubers releasing fragrances.
Oh, of course.
How do you sort of feel about that? And how do you, I've got my answer if I want to justify why I'm doing it. But you always get this thing that people say, oh, well, you're just kind of, it's cynical money grab or whatever. How do you sort of answer back when you get that kind of criticism?
Well, to be honest with you, in this situation, because there was always a beginning and an end from the start of this idea, it was never to put a product on the market long term. There was no expense spared in creating our packaging. The cost structure is actually a lot higher for these fragrances per bottle than most would expect. There's not a really high profit margin. We're not getting rich. I'm not retiring off of, the bottles that I'm going to sell. It's not a big cash grab. It was more about George picked a few people that he really enjoyed being around, that he got along with, that he had a profound love and affinity for, or respect, or liked watching, or something or another. And we ended up meshing as a group. That's beside the point. But it was one of those deals where he just wanted to provide an experience, because it's not really something that's been done on this level, to where this level of creative freedom was given to a content creator. Now your situation's a bit different. But
there's
for the
all
majority,
kinds of different ones.
There's so many different situations, and we were literally given a blank Zaharov box and bottle and told have fun. Once we submitted our briefs and we got our no's, we were told have fun. And I think that's what's so unique about it, that there was no boundaries whatsoever set on us, and we could do whatever we wanted, and nobody critiqued each other until we were done. The only people that had any say in what we were doing was, like, from my situation, me and Claude were the only ones that knew what I was doing. Myself and George collaborated on the packaging, but the actual fragrance profile, George did not put any shackles on it. He didn't approve anything. No one got to critique anything till it was over. And it's one of those situations where if people could have been behind the scenes, I don't necessarily think there would really be any criticism, because the opportunity that I was given is one that most of us dream to be given this opportunity. I am so humbled that I was able to do this. I mean, I still can't believe a year and a half later that I was able to go through this process. It's one of those things that there's no reason for me to have to apologize or defend, because it's a humbling experience that there's no way, no how I could have passed on. Because it's not, like I said before, it's not about making a bunch of money. It was about providing an experience and really getting to understand what goes into the creation, the marketing, the manufacturing. All the hurdles were taken away from us. It was pretty much easy for us because George ate all the expenditures and the investment, obviously. But everything was put out in front of us for us to just have fun. So I don't understand how anybody could, say anything negatively about that, because we've put all the information out there for everybody. We're transparent as can be,
Yeah, absolutely. And all I can say, knowing George Zaharov, he really does come across as someone with a great deal of integrity, who likes to do things very, very properly. And, I have heard him say a few choice words about other people and brands. If he doesn't think that's happened, then he wouldn't be impressed. So I know, knowing him, that this is going to be a very serious, proper perfume, and the one but I also know that he's really behind this sort of modern way of thinking, where he embraces YouTubers, and that we're in a new world now. It's not the 1980s where only Chanel can release a perfume, or it's a different world now. We have micro brands in every field. We have craft beer and micro breweries, and all kinds of YouTubers in different genres. Some of them probably just fronting up any old protein powder on their bodybuilding channel or whatever that goes on. But the fragrance world, different kind of ball game. And I know pretty much all the YouTubers I've spoken to are not earning huge amounts of money either from their channel or any fragrance they release, and they are, like me, very passionate about the fragrance, and that's their main incentive, is to have their own creation out there. But yeah, it's a great fun thing, and I wish you all the best. So okay, it's time to get stuck into. Otherwise, I'm going to get a rude comment of the list starts at 14 minutes, guys, in the comment, which I always get on my videos when people are bored by my intros. So let's get into your list.
Let's do it.
You've got 5 fragrances.
I do.
Any order you like. What's fragrance number 1, please?
So fragrance number 1, we're going to go chronologically for me. The one that I would like to start with, I actually don't have anymore, was Pierre Cardin. was a Splash bottle. That was the first bottle I can remember that was mine. I was a single digit age. I can't remember exactly, 7, 8, 9 years old, maybe. I remember that's one of those things where I started realizing that when you dress nice, whether it's going to church, a family dinner, whatever, you want to smell nice. You don't just want to dress nice, you want to smell nice. That's as far back as I can remember understanding and appreciating what a fragrance is for. And then once I got, I would say 11, 12 years old, roughly, latter years of elementary school, came into my first fragrance, which is Tommy by Tommy Hilfiger. This played a major role in my world and still does to this day. This is the first fragrance that I sought after. This is the first one that I really wanted. During Tommy Hilfiger's heyday, 1995 era, when the clothing got popular and then they released the fragrance, everybody, me, all my friends, everybody wanted to have a bottle. It was this and Polo were the two big things. And which we'll get into that one in a minute.
Polo Sport or just Polo?
Polo and Polo Sport, but mainly Polo, the original.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Believe it or not, we like those. I come from a group that we really, me especially, which that's in this list. We'll talk about that one in a minute.
Okay. Now, let me just be clear here.
Sure.
You mentioned a little briefly the Pierre Cardin. Was that your fragrance number one, or is this
that's just kind of an honorable mention?
That was that was a passing mention. Okay. Is that the Pierre Cardin one with the ball on the top?
The bulb. Yeah, it had the bulb.
I got it.
Style.
Okay, great. Just so I can
put
a little.
And it was a Splash bottle.
Splashes for the win. I've lately actually been, I've got a couple of things in splashes and aftershaves, and I do actually. I love doing it that way sometimes. It's a different feeling. But you don't have to get through the bottle quick when you splash it. You use gallons
because you end up using way too much.
Yeah, you do. But I like the effect, and I love splashing it on my face. It's a different vibe. Anyhow, Tommy Hilfiger, hugely influential fragrance. Just got it myself, actually. Crazy. Only a few months ago, a great cheapie to pick up. So versatile. And so you were kind of what age when you got that?
I was right around the 5th or 6th grade, right around 12, 11 years old, roughly.
Pretty young.
Pretty young. We would have the school dances every week and stuff like that at that age. I don't know across the nation or across the world how popular stuff like that was, but we would have at the neighboring elementary school had a big gymnasium, and we would have a dance on Fridays. They'd have a DJ and all that good stuff. That was our thing. We'd gear up, squat up, and go, and this was that fragrance for those times. I actually went through 2 bottles in my younger years, 2 full-size 100 milliliter bottles. Had a gift set. I was all about Tommy Hilfiger back then. So this is a very important fragrance along my journey. This is the one that really mattered to me the most first.
Got
it. How I would like to put that one specifically.
Okay. And it's very fresh and a little bit sporty, but it's not sort of boring. It's a bit spicy as well, isn't it? It's a bit going on.
It's got a little bit of character to it. There's an underlying cactus note in here that adds that juicy, slightly bitter, fresh spiciness. There's a cotton flower here. There's a couple of strange notes that you don't really see in a lot, mass produced in a lot of fragrances that kind of adds that unique character. This doesn't smell like everything else. That's what I like about it.
Yeah, I think it's a great one. I'm really happy I've added it to my collection, and just a great one for me that I would grab when I don't want to think too hard. But I want something pleasing and a little bit youthful and fun smelling. I really like it actually. So great first choice, which actually brings me to one of my other questions that I always ask every guest, which is how and at what point did you become more than averagely interested in fragrances?
That is pretty much in the mid 2000s when I really started. Okay, I'm really into this, and I'm starting to spend more. My collection starting to go beyond 5-10 bottles. That was more mid 2000s, which is actually number 5 on this list. That specific fragrance was the turning point for me.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to get to that in the time.
Okay, let's let that come, because I also want to find out what prompted you to start the channel. But I have a feeling it's going to emerge as we go through the list. So let's go to number 2 then, please.
So number 2, as we move on, similar time frame as time starting to progress, 12, 13, 14 years old. It was Nautica, Tommy, and Polo. That was the big 3 for me and my friends. So I actually do have a vintage bottle Of Nautica. I wear Nautica Classic religiously. I've been through multiple bottles of that. I bought a vintage gift set not that long ago. The top note's a little spoiled, but after like 1 minute, it's gone. But it just goes to show reformulations.
Is that Nautica Voyage?
No, this is just the original Nautica.
Okay, right. Okay.
This is what's now called Nautica Classic for the newer bottles, but this is like a 22-year-old bottle.
Wow.
Yeah, this is like a 98, 99 batch, something like that, but way old. Performs so night and day compared to the newer stuff, and this is much more floral and woody to go with that marine aquatic style that Nautica is known for. But the top note's a little spoiled because it's so old. You know how the citruses, they're the first to go.
They are, yeah.
So this one was quite popular for me. This was one that stuck with me more so than Tommy, because I've never not had a bottle of the newer stuff. I mean, it's up until last year, it had been forever since I had a vintage bottle. But that's how much I love it that I actually sought out to go get a vintage bottle now that I'm at this stage with fragrances, just to have it. I don't even wear it that much. But this one was very important to me. This is a great daily wear for if you like those just easy to wear, fresh, saltwater kind of, summer style fragrances. This one, I want to say, if I had to put a number of bottles I've had on it, I would say it's in the 8, 9, maybe even 10 bottle range in my lifetime. So this one was very important to me.
Okay, brilliant. So, and this is still in your sort of early teens.
Yeah, this was early teens to now, but it was more of what I wore every day through the early teens. For sure.
Got it. Well, you were way ahead of me in your personal development, because I don't think I bought myself any fragrance still. I was probably over 18. So I'm impressed there. It's good. I think maybe you had a little bit more of a social scene going on than me at that age. So I'm really, impressed with that. And I love the 2 great fresh choices. And I haven't actually smelled the Nautica Classic. Big fan of Nautica Voyage.
Me as well.
I know it's a bit of a cliche, but it does the job. It's one of my few bottles that's right down to the last 10 mil, because I'm always spraying it on when I can't think what else to wear. So Nautica, a great, fun, inexpensive house with some really good, versatile freshies. Okay, so we're 2 down. What's number 3, please?
So number 3, now we're getting into Polo by Ralph Lauren. So not a vintage bottle. I rebought this recently. It had been a few years since I had it in my collection, and I was just kind of jonesing for it, if you would. Nowadays, people call it an old man fragrance, which is kind of sad to hear for me, because I have a lot of fond memories with this fragrance. I still enjoy it to this day. The new flanker, it's nice, but this is better.
Yeah.
It just is. That piney green to dry tobacco. It's very gentlemanly. It's old school. I get where people are coming from when they want to pin it as a dated old man smell. But I just, like I said, I've had so many fond memories, and the reason I say so many fond memories, my very first bottle of this was a 40 milliliter bottle, a little small bottle, because we had Dillard's in my hometown. So there was no buying it from Fragrance Net, none of that. So it's expensive. And I asked for it for Christmas. That's how I would get these. Birthdays and Christmas, I would ask for a gift set or a bottle of a certain fragrance I was interested in. Well, when I was 15, I want to say 14 or 15, I had asked for this. So I was in middle school. It was late middle school going into high school. The dances got a little bit more serious. You dressed up even more at that point. It wasn't just wearing a polo style shirt, and I wanted something that smelled a bit more put together. I didn't want just some typical fresh fragrance to wear for situations like that. This is the first time I bought a fragrance for a situation. That wasn't just something I bought that I'm just going to spray before I leave the house every day.
Yeah.
So this was that fragrance. This was the special occasion fragrance, is what we'll do.
I get it. Yeah. And this is much more grown up.
Yes. This is much more put together, is the way I would like to put it. I don't want to put dated or mature or anything like that, because, like I said, it's kind of upsetting to hear people say that today, because I love it so much, but it's a well put together fragrance that has its place in history for us. This was the gold standard for a long time. This was something special, and it doesn't perform like it used to, but it's no slouch with the current formulations. But This one I hold in high regard. This is another one that even today, I won't necessarily wear all the time. I did wear it a few times this past winter. But it's one that for nostalgia's sake, I have in my collection. I kind of rebought it for that reason, because it takes me back to those times, because this was my very first special occasion fragrance, if you will.
Yeah, I'm really happy that you included that one. I think it is one of the real benchmark fragrances. Without wishing to be rude, I just want to gauge, you were wearing this towards your mid-teens. Roughly what kind of era is that in year? Were we in the late 90s, early 2000s?
We're talking late 90s.
Late night. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So
we're talking
quite a while after it came out.
98. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah, it had been out for 22 years at that point.
Yes, it's 1978 it first came out. And from what I gather, many people regard it, I think maybe even more so in the States, it was kind of the smell of success or something, apparently, in the 80s. I keep reading, like, this was like the guys in the boardroom or the country club often smelled of this. And of course, we didn't have
green and the gold, they associated it with money.
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah, even polo, people who play polo, or these are the kind of high up there kind of people. And of course, we didn't have niche fragrances really back then, so this would have been probably a pretty relatively expensive, luxurious kind of product to buy. So
you're going to spend 70, 75 US roughly on a 40 milliliter bottle, even back then.
So it was a lot. Yeah, that would be, and it probably in a way for you, they would kind of feel like a little step up, which, although I love the Nautica and stuff, they're kind of a little bit more accessible, and this is more your top level kind of thing, right up there with the Chanel fragrances and Dior's.
Yeah, this was in a similar realm as far as price point and how we viewed it as well, because the Nauticas, the Tommies, that was all, even back then, $40 retail. They weren't really expensive. It was achievable, even for a young man cutting grass, getting your own money kind of thing,
Yeah.
So you definitely felt a little bit more put together wearing something like this, because this was a little bit harder to achieve.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And of course, you can just hold it up a little bit more for us, because the bottle design, that is a very good, whoever designed that had a good day at the office. That is pure class and an iconic design, isn't it? Yeah.
I agree completely.
Yeah. Okay, superb choice. All right, well, that's number 3. What's number 4, please?
So number 4 is an interesting one. So now we're moving into the beginning of the 2000s. My parents had divorced at this point. I was living with my dad. Me and my dad, very, very tight. My dad passed away in 2003, it's been 18 years now. It was May of 2003. I was 18 years old.
Ouch.
And 2 years in a row, he had randomly got me this. He knew I like fragrances. So for Christmas, he had got me, this was a stocking stuffer fragrance for me. And I loved it so much. The following year, my bottle was getting low. I had this and Nautica Blue were my two go-tos at the time. This was my special occasion fragrance, and my Nautica Blue was my everyday, or Blue Sail Blue, one of them. And so it's an interesting one. Aspen Discovery, not one that anybody really talks about. A flanker to the famed Aspen. So this is traditional fare for barbershop style. Some citruses, heavy lavender, musks, and wood. Very simple note breakdown, very familiar, kind of in the realm of a Drakkar Noir type of stuff. Really heavy aromatic musk that you will think of a barbershop. It's that style. This was my very first barbershop style fragrance. And the reason I really liked it, I hadn't had that scent profile to that point. So I was really enjoying it. So 2 years in a row, he had bought that for me. The following year, he had passed away. So this was technically, because Dad was always the one that would go get my fragrance for me whenever it was, what I'd asked for whatever holiday or a birthday. So I tie my love for fragrance pretty closely to him. And this was the last fragrance, not this specific bottle, but was the last fragrance he had bought for me. So that particular time makes this that much more special to me because of the bond and everything. Because me and my dad were very, very close, my best friend. So when he passed, I held it it took me years to go through those last couple of sprays because it had been discontinued at that point. I didn't really know of any online discounters. I wasn't real big into the community or anything. There wasn't a community really at the time. it was only years later that these little 75 ml bottles, you can pick them up for $8.
So we can still get this now easily, yeah?
Yep. I have 2 of them. These little 75, they're 3/4 ounce, and they're $8 from Fragrance Net. And they're all over eBay. They have aftershave splashes. Yeah. So when I came across it, I rebought them. And it's another one. I don't wear it. I just have it.
Yeah.
Because of the nostalgia factor. So this was a very important one for me. Early 2000s, I held it in high regard because I enjoyed it. It smells very put together. Barbershop style fragrances tend to be quite gentlemanly. You know, it's not something you're really going to wear with just a white t-shirt most of the time. So, so this would be my number 4. This one's very, very special to me for those reasons.
Okay, so Coty Aspen Discovery. And I want to thank you because I love it when the guests give me something that I wish I had my pen and I'm going to write it down and then maybe go out and but if I can get it in the UK easily, maybe that and the original. This. Yeah, that and the original Nautica too that I haven't got that I really want to maybe try out. So yeah, loving it. Brilliant. Okay, that sounds like a really intriguing fragrance that I think
knowing your style, I think you would enjoy at least trying this a few times. And it's just a few dollars. I think you should get your hands on a bottle, Dan. I think you would like this.
I love getting cheapies because I often have just as much fun when one of those arrives in the post as an MDCI fragrance that I've paid 200 quid for. I don't think the enjoyment factor is that much different, even though I love some niche stuff. But this is the great thing about the fragrance game. Yeah,
it's funny that you say that because in my live yesterday, I literally said that about Raja Parfum's Burlington 1819. I just got that in.
Right. Yeah.
And then we ended up talking about an Abercrombie and Fitch fragrance that I talk about all the time for $20.
Yeah.
And I said, look, I get just as much enjoyment out of that as I do this. And the price difference and quality are night and day.
Yeah.
It's when you just love fragrance, you just love fragrance. Yes. And that encompasses everything.
Yeah, that's the great thing about the hobby and our community because you don't have to, you can spend a lot of money in this game, but you can still have a lot of fun and watch a lot of videos and probably even buy a fragrance every week, but not bankrupt yourself if you enjoy the barbershop stuff and the cheapies. So it's the wonderful inclusive kind of thing about our community that I do think is really nice. Just speaking of the live stream, do you do live? Were you on someone else's stream, or is that something you do?
No, that was the first time. That was the first time I've went live on my YouTube channel. I've been live on Instagram a handful of times, but I had never done a live stream on my channel prior. So yesterday was technically the first one. It was a live unboxing first impressions of 3 fragrances that turned into a live Q&A. Like half of it was a live Q&A.
And it was just you
just
with
me.
The audience. Yeah. Interesting. I'm always interested to chat to other YouTubers, and sometimes I'll be doing this off air before the video, but we'll just keep this in. It's always interesting to see how this thing evolves because when you think back when the YouTube fragrance videos first became a thing, maybe 10 years ago or even more, it was very basic. Someone on the camera quality of everyone was lower, and the format was. People sat on the edge of their bed or whatever, and things have evolved a lot. And now we're doing a link up here, which is a different thing to what I do most. But I've started to do these and enjoy them. Where do you think things are sort of going, and where would you like to go with your channel? Because things have evolved a lot with the fragrance online YouTube videos. Do you think we can see more? Should we have more live streams and interaction? Do we need to have I feel like maybe we need somebody or some people to shake it up a little bit to make things a bit more interesting sometimes. What do you think?
I think we're growing at a pretty rapid rate for our little small niche. The last 2 years has really been a boom. You went from maybe 20, 25, just on content creators alone, you went from maybe 20, 25 channels roughly to probably 500 now, all different sizes, shapes, content, there's a lot of variety now. And that just goes to show how big the community as a whole is starting to grow. There's a lot more people coming into the hobby because I still consider it a hobby. It's a hobby for me. And it's one that I feel like once somebody decides they want some variety, or they smell 2 or 3 different things and they feel they get that itch to buy some, they jump on YouTube. It's the world's online manual for anything and everything.
It's the second biggest search engine or something. But a lot of the time I'll go to rather than Google
go straight to YouTube.
Leak. Yeah, I had a leaking tap the other day, and I went to YouTube,
and there was probably 1,000 videos.
Yeah, there were.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is very true. Yeah, a lot of people.
And we're getting tied to the men's fashion, men's style side a lot more. A lot of those channels, they do their couple fragrance videos, but when you really want to get more in depth, if you see, let's say somebody that normally watches Real Men, Real Style. Okay. Antonio likes to do his share of fragrance videos.
Yes.
Let's say they want to go maybe a little bit more in depth than Antonio's going. Maybe they'll search fragrance specifically and they'll stumble across other channels for other content, and it goes down the rabbit hole that way. It may start from a men's style channel, big like Real Men, Real Style. That's a great example, I think. And we're being tied to that more and more, which it should be. This is part of a wardrobe. This is just an accessory for your wardrobe, an important one in our opinions, because this is what we're passionate about. And I feel like more and more people are starting to view it that way. More and more people are using the word fragrance than just the word cologne. Because to the average person, they just say cologne. Oh, it's a cologne. Well, you and I both know eau de cologne is a concentration. Not everything is a cologne.
Yeah.
But the average viewer doesn't know that. So they start going down this rabbit hole, and that's really helping us to expand and grow. And I think it's only good for everyone involved. It gets us out there more. It expands the audience. It's more people enjoying the hobby. That's how you're able to see content creators come out with fragrances and them have success. It's because there's just so many more people that are becoming interested in our little niche, our little corner.
Yep. Very true. I think, 10 years ago or something, a lot of people wouldn't have known about, niche fragrances or whatever. They would never have heard of it. But, nowadays, partly because of the YouTube and the online stuff in general, a lot of people out there that are not massive frag heads will have heard of Creed fragrances and the Tom Ford private blend, blah, blah, blah. So it's, everything, the amount of information is expanding so fast. And I think you're very right. There was a great example about Antonio from Real Men, Real Style. He's quite into his fragrances. He's really been bitten by the bug, hasn't he? But his channel is enormous. But I think he's helping us because people find out about the frag thing as a spin-off.
He funnels people that gain more if they're very interested in his fragrance videos. If they have interest in those, their interest will grow, and it will then funnel people to us.
Yep.
Most likely, because once you decide you're going to go down the fragrance rabbit hole, that's how you find Mr. Smelly 1977. That's how you find TLTG reviews, is you funnel down from someone else, someone larger.
That's very, very true indeed. Many people will have seen Jeremy Fragrance and kept watching him, and eventually, if we're lucky, one of us popped up by the side.
He's usually going to be the first stop. You're usually going to start with
doubt.
Jeremy. I know I did.
Yeah, I did too.
That's where everybody starts. I mean, think about if Steven was to have started his channel 2 years ago versus 11 or 12 years ago.
Yeah.
He probably would have still gotten relatively close to his size now because of the boom and because he's a niche inside of a niche. He's the professor and all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's crazy, all the different personas and how they fit our niche,
Yeah, things are going incredibly rapidly, and I feel grateful actually that I got my foot in the door 5 years ago, because I think it'd be harder in a way to start now, because then there were less people doing anywhere near a decent video or anything, and I think I could easily have started now from nothing and do it for a couple of months and find that nobody knew about me or watched, and I might get discouraged and give up. So although it's great that we've got more, it's kind of, if you are sitting there thinking, I want to start a channel, maybe I'll do really well, I think it's harder than ever because there's so much competition now and so many channels to choose from.
I say yes and no, because at the same time, there's more of a community aspect to it, and more channels that have a larger platform just reach back. If you find some smaller channels or guys that are just starting out, I've been doing that a lot lately. There's a lot of guys that I just enjoy watching that may have 400 or 500 subscribers. So I'll share their video, and their video may get a few more views out of it, or they may get a few more subscribers out of it. That's part of the community aspect. That's That's what the community tab is for, in my opinion. It's to make an actual community. It's to share with one another. And I think the more people want to help one another, I think it won't be as hard. But if you don't have a hand reaching out to maybe show you some, some ways to change your thumbnail, or you know, what editing software do you use? I get questions like that all the time. If you just press record and you cross your fingers, it's going to be hard, especially in this landscape, because there's so many. But if you focus on polishing your content while still being yourself, I think, and you have the community aspect, the community wraps their hands around you, whether it's on Instagram or on YouTube or whatever. I feel like you really get the community feel, and it's a little bit easier that way.
Yep. Good point. Yeah. Okay. I take your point there. You do have a point there. Yeah. I think if you put the effort in, then more than likely, if you actually start a channel now and you just get, at least you get half decent equipment and put some effort into it and just persevere, in a year's time, you may not be the biggest thing in the world, but you will have got somewhere, probably, if you've got something worthwhile to say. Also, definitely with the rapid growth is fascinating, because I've seen people who started way after me and were only started 18 months ago. And I don't resent them at all. And they've just they shot past me, like a couple of the female reviewers in the UK, because of course, there's some very attractive young women doing videos about men's fragrances. Good for them. But, they've gone from like nothing to 50,000, really, really quickly. But it just goes, the exponential rate at which it's exploding is
look, I've got almost 800 videos, and there's channels with 30 videos that have more subscribers than me. So it is what it is. You never know who's going to take to your content and your personality.
It's intriguing. It's fascinating, and I enjoy being in the game in any way, shape, or form. It's always fun. All right, now we better get back to the actual.
Yeah, we still have one left.
One fragrance left.
We still have one left.
And in the process, or perhaps before you do that, I just want to ask: at what point what prompted you to say, I'm going to do a YouTube channel? And also, had you ever done any other kind of video? Because you seem very good at presenting, and you seem very good on. You're not sort of umming and ahhing, and you seem very good at it. So, had you ever done any other YouTube channels or something else that would have prepared you to be good at this? And why did you decide to do your channel? What happened?
So, I had already had, like, at this point, I was big time into fragrances. Like, I had wanted to start my channel 2 years prior to when I started it. I was actually very camera shy. Believe it or not, I was nervous to record myself and just talk to the camera and everything. And I had never said a word to my wife about it. Like, I had it in my head. I had been watching. I had seen your videos. Carlos was my favorite for the longest time. I loved Carlos's energy. God rest his soul. I'd watch Steven. I watched Jeremy. Used to watch Max a lot. I watched Max a lot before I had my channel. Max. So shout out to you, Max. So I was down the rabbit hole, and I was like, man, I know I could do this. I have the knowledge, yada, yada, yada. I'm in my head, and I just couldn't get myself to press record. So 2 years I procrastinated and put it off, and would get in my own head and talk myself out of doing it. And one night I finally I had been telling my wife for a few weeks prior that I was debating on doing this. And one night I really had an idea to do my very first video, which was top 10 not so citrusy summer fragrances. Had this idea of, summer fragrances that aren't based around citrus. And I really wanted to do it. And she's like, look, just go record something. You don't have to put it live or anything like that. I'll go in the room, give you the privacy, just record it, watch it back, see what you think. And that was July 12th of 2019. Was it 18 or 19? I don't know. 2 years ago on July 12th.
Right.
So it's weird. So had I not gotten in my own head, I would have started 2 years prior to that, and I'd be coming close to a 4-year channel anniversary. But I was being scared. I had a very scared outlook on it, and I just couldn't do it for some reason.
That's normal, though. I think it's a big step when you've not done something like that before. And just because you didn't answer the other part of the question, was, had you done anything video related? Nothing at all, really.
No.
Fair enough. Okay.
This was the first thing I had ever done, was this channel.
It just must be a natural. And one other big point I truly mean it. One point I would make to anyone who does really want to do it is we've all probably done it and thought, oh, there's always stuff you put in the way, like, I want to do it, but I need to wait till I've got a really good camera, and I need to wait till I've bought the best microphone, and I want to do it properly, so I need like to set up a really good studio to do it. Just press record and obviously try and make it have half decent light and stuff. But even if you're doing it on a phone or whatever, especially nowadays that technology's improved so much, you can put out something passable, and you just press record one day when you're feeling pretty good, if you've had a few coffees or whatever gets you going a little bit. And like you say, if you watch it back and it's so bad you don't want anyone to see it, don't upload it. But I would say do something, do upload it, as long as you get something half decent. And it doesn't matter how bad your first video is. Like mine looks like it was filmed on a potato. The quality is appalling.
I have something to add on mine.
Yeah.
So with mine, it's funny that you say get half decent equipment. It's just press record. You can evolve over time. I started off with an iPhone 7 Plus, no lighting, no mic, just a little bitty stand. It was a bad angle, but I ran with it. And I gained like 30 subscribers from that video. And I was so proud, and like 100 views from the first day. I was blown away. Like, wow, that's awesome.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And look, not everybody knows this, but a lot of my viewers do. For the longest time, this was what my channel was recorded on, this Galaxy Note 10 Plus. I only 3 months ago got this Sony Handycam. Because the camera is so good on this. And I had a lapel mic and everything, my audio and my lighting was upgraded, but I was over a year on my phone. So just get a decent phone and you can make a YouTube channel happen. That's the God's honest truth. You don't have to have $5,000 in video and audio equipment. You really don't.
100% true. Yeah. Especially in the last 3 or 4 years as the phones have improved, the cameras are,
Oh, that iPhone I had, it was terrible. But from this phone to that phone, it's night and day. But I mean, this is several iPhones ago.
The iPhone thing has really come on. So nowadays, there's not immensely, hugely obvious difference between a half decent iPhone video and some of the ones that are actually on a bit. I mean, you can see a difference, but it's not so apparent, the big differences. So we're really lucky with the technology, guys. And no one ever even if your first video is a bit poor, I would say just leave it up there and just do another one and improve as you go along. I've never deleted my old one, and no one will ever look back in a year and say, oh, that first video sucked, I'm unsubscribing from him. It doesn't matter. So
it's nice to look back sometimes. It is.
Yeah, a lot of people do a reaction, don't they, to watching back my first video.
It's cringy to me now, but it's still nice. I still, once in a while, I'll go back and look at some of those old videos, Actually, last week I watched a few of them.
Yeah, it's fun to see the evolution. Okay, now, finally, I'm going to allow you to speak about fragrance number 5.
Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue. This was the turning point fragrance for me. I fell in love with this DNA. I just in those years, nothing had gotten me attention like this. My uncle had got it before me. And I would love when he'd walk in the room because I could just smell him. I'd steal sprays from his bottle when I would go over. So of course, for Christmas, I asked for a gift set of this. And I fell in love with this scent DNA. I've been through a few bottles of Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue. And I got this on clearance for like $8. That's why I got this little 40 ml. When it was time to rebuy, I was like, ooh, it'll take me forever to go through that. I'll take that. But it's just something about how it's so fresh and aquatic. It's a little salty. It's a little spicy. It's got, for being a relatively synthetic designer fragrance, it's got a lot of character. I really have always thought it's got a lot of character. And my God, can it get you some compliments? It just can. Ladies love the way this smells, in my experience. And I really started looking at fragrances differently at this point, beyond it's part of the wardrobe to, okay, I like this way more than anybody else I know personally. And at this point, when I got this, I had 6 bottles currently. And then within a year, I was at 20 after this fragrance. Like it started expanding because I thought, okay, well, I'm going to wear this every day. Now I want something for when I go to dinner. Okay, well, this is really fresh. So I want something a little darker for when it gets cold. And that's when I really started to become seasonal with fragrances. And this was the turning point fragrance that really got me to that mindset of being seasonal with my fragrances. What scent profiles are good for this time of the year or for this situation, and so on. And I really started to expand. I was, 21, 22 years old with 20 or 30 fragrances at that point, 20, 25, something like that. And before I started my channel, I was at 70 or 80 bottles at the time before I even started, like 2 or 3 years before I started my channel. So I was really, really into it. I just had my collection was nowhere near what it is now, but I was really into it, and I didn't have anyone to talk to. It was one of those things where I didn't know about the community. I didn't know there were people that were into fragrances like I was. I didn't say anything to my friends around me because they didn't express the same level of interest. So I didn't really say anything, kind of viewed it as maybe it's too feminine to be this into it.
Yeah, you get that a little. Some people think that,
being self-conscious because you don't know. You don't know because you're not saying anything. So you're in your head, you're devising why you shouldn't talk about it. And that was kind of the thing. And once I discovered the community, that's when I really started getting the itch to make my channel, because I didn't have anybody to talk about fragrances with. And once I started the channel, everybody around me starts coming out the woodworks. Now it's, this whole time I had people to talk to. I just didn't know it because I didn't take that first step. So I was reaching out to the community to have somebody to talk fragrances with, back and forth in the comments, in the groups on Facebook, and so on. And this was the fragrance that pushed me into where I got to that point with fragrances.
Okay, brilliant. Lovely choice. I think it reflects the fact that you've perhaps been in a warmer climate a lot of the time, that you're a man after my own heart, because I love fresh fragrances. So I really like your list there. Weirdly, I've never actually added that one to the collection, but I've certainly always enjoyed it when I've tried it. I do love citrusy, kind of aquatic type fragrances. I mean, I before I got into having a collection, my signature scent was Chanel Allure Homme Sport. And I often say, I probably would have had more compliments and success with the ladies if I just stuck with wearing that, because I remember I often, when I had a brief girlfriend thing going on before they dumped me, they often used to say, you always smell good. So they really liked, that was a real hit, that fragrance. And it was in a similar, just a fresh, sporty, likable fragrance. So really good choice. And I like the point you've kind of revived my faith a little bit in the idea that perhaps there is a bit of a community around the world of fragrance people, because lately I've been a bit cynical and I'm kind of saying, well, there isn't really a community anyway. There's so many different channels and people who don't like each other, and
look, I'm not going to sit here and say it's not a high school drama play, because it is.
But any good community is like that.
Yeah, it's all part of it. But there's a lot of good people in this community that make it a community. There are.
Yeah, you are right, and it is. It gives us a chance to bring together all the people around the world who are into fragrances, because, as you say, in your little group of friends or whatever, there ain't going to be enough people that are that into it that you'd have anyone to talk about it too much. So it is a lovely thing that we can do what we're doing now, and I can communicate with people on a daily basis on the other side of the world. I'm just getting up in the morning and they're going to bed, or vice versa, but they're sending me messages saying, I like the video, or what do you think about this? So it is, you've just restored a little bit of my faith in the idea of a fragrance community.
If nothing else, I'm glad we were able to achieve that here.
Yeah, I think so.
Because you got to figure, like, let's touch on the point you just made about maybe not everybody around you is as into it. With technology, it's allowed us. I mean, here we are. You're in the UK. I'm in Colorado. We're 7 hours apart. Yeah, and we're having a conversation about fragrances. It's a video chat.
Like you could be next door. We're not. It's not like us. Once upon a time, you'd watch someone being interviewed on the news and there'd be a 10-second lag on their satellite or whatever. So the technology means, you're coming through loud and clear. And when you think about it, it's insane, really.
Absolutely.
There must be some. I still don't understand how it even happens. Is there some like pipe under the sea with a load of wires? And I still don't understand how the actual signal gets from one place to another. I have
apparently there is an abundance of satellites floating around right outside the atmosphere. Yeah, there's a satellite for just about now. There's multi-purpose satellites. I'm sure there's not 500 satellites out there, but there's a lot more than we realize because that's how all of this operates.
Someone will explain it to me fully one day, but all I can say is I'm glad it does.
Same.
Right. I guess that's it. I've had a real great time talking to you. I hope I can get to know you a bit more properly. Maybe we'll do some more of these collabs or whatever. Maybe, who knows, we always say, I hope I'll meet you for a drink one day, but
I would love that. I would love that, Dan.
It will happen, I hope. But of course, we're a long way apart. So thank goodness for the internet as well. Thank you for being a great guest.
Thank you so much for having me. It was an honor, Dan. Absolute privilege. You have been one of my favorite channels for many years. I love your style because I like fougères. I like barbershop. I like the classic men's fragrances. That's why I knew I was going to like Gravitas. I knew I was going to like Bon Viveur because I like your style. And I figured you would make those kinds of fragrances. That's your style,
I did. Love it. I figured I had to do that. Absolutely. So, I take that compliment.
It is because that just says you stay true to yourself with your creations.
Yeah, I think that's what you have to do in life and on YouTube. Absolutely. Well, I'm looking forward to trying your creation.
I can't wait. Once again,
I will definitely be giving my honest opinions, but the note listing does sound truly tantalizing. So I'm very keen to check that one out ASAP. Guys, let us know what you thought about all of this in the comments down below. What did you think of Ross's choices and anything else about what we said? We would love to hear your feedback. So that's it. I'll leave it there for today. And I will finish with my new catchphrase that I've just invented this last week. And that is to say, sometimes life stinks, but we can always smell good.
I love it.
Goodbye, everyone. See ya.